Call this meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We are all present except for Mr. Miller. Number 2, for approval of the agenda, I do have a couple of amendments. Under letter H for new business, it is listed as employee contracts, and the first one that is listed there is for a high school assistant principal. You can scratch off high school assistant principal and write MTSS and student support coordinator. And then under, at the very end, letter K, we're going to add the resolution for the state project, which was sitting on the table in front of you. I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I move Board of Education approve the June 15th, 2026 regular board meeting agenda with the following revisions.
Support. Okay, motion by Mr. Nash, support by Mrs. Greer to approve the regular education, Board of Education meeting as amended. Ugh. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. I forgot to write your names down before we started again. Okay. Okay, number 3, under communications, we're going to start with just a review of what public comment looks like at our board meetings. Public comment is guided by bylaw 0167.3. Public comment is available for any stakeholder, community member, or school personnel. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes and will be done at the front of the room. We don't actually have a microphone up here, but if you're going to comment, please come stand up here so at least it's on the recording. Anyone wishing to share public comment must register their intention to speak on the information form, which you were provided out at the front. They must be turned in prior to public comment starting for agenda matters, and then prior to the start of the public comment at the end. It is available twice during the board meeting. The public comment will be at the beginning of the meeting after we accept the agenda, and this must be related to matters on the agenda. Other comments or topics will be stopped and held until the final public comment opportunity. Public comment will be offered following the conclusion of new business action. During the portion of, this is the policy 0167.3, during the portion of the meeting designated for public participation, no participant may speak more than once on the same topic. Following public comment, the presiding officer will acknowledge the individual by thanking them for speaking and giving reassurance, and that the president or the superintendent will follow up. And in the following month's superintendent report, follow-ups will be shared with the board. So for number 3, you did have a written correspondence that was sent in today that was in front of you. Any communication from Ovid-Elsie personnel? Okay, then we'll move on to public participation. We have 2. Heidi, you come up here just so that they can see on the screen, recording.
Good evening, members of the school board, administrators, staff, and community members. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak tonight. For those who do not know me, my name is Heidi Oresti. I am an Ovid-Elsie alumni and the niece of the late Doug Long. I'm here to respectfully ask the board to consider naming the track in honor of my Uncle Doug, a man who dedicated more than 40 years of his life educating, mentoring, and coaching generations of students. For over 4 decades, Uncle Doug was more than a teacher and a coach. He was a role model, a mentor, and a steady presence in the lives of countless young people. He invested his time, energy, and heart into helping students succeed, not only in the classroom and on the track, but in life. The true measure of a teacher or a coach is not in wins, records, or awards alone. It is found in the lives that they touch. He taught students the importance of hard work, discipline, respect, teamwork, and perseverance. He challenged them to be their best and encouraged them to believe in themselves, often long after they had left his classroom or his team. Many students and athletes can still recall lessons that he taught them years ago. His influence extended far beyond school grounds and continued throughout their lives. That kind of impact is rare and it deserves to be remembered. A track is more than a place where races are ran. It is where students learn commitment, leadership, and school pride. It is where communities gather to celebrate achievement and create memories. These are the values that Uncle Doug spent more than 40 years promoting and embodying. Naming the track after him would not simply honor his memory, it would recognize a lifetime of service to the school district and the community. It would ensure that future generations know the name of someone who devoted his career to helping young people grow and succeed. Every student who walks through those gates would have the opportunity to learn about a man whose life was dedicated to education, athletics, and service. His name would stand as a reminder that one person can make an extraordinary difference through dedication, compassion, and commitment. For our family, that recognition would be a tremendous honor. More importantly, it would be a fitting tribute to a man who gave so much of himself to students, families, and this community. On behalf of our family and all whose lives were touched by him, I respectfully ask your consideration in naming the track in his honor. Thank you for your time, your service, and thoughtful consideration of this request.
Thank you. All right. Travis? Pass, okay. All right, so we are going to continue on with our consent agenda and entertain a motion.
I move the Board of Education approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Motion by Mrs. Thompson, support by Mr. Nash, that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda as presented. Any questions? Roll call, Mrs. Thompson?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Mrs. Greer?
Yes.
Mr. Nash?
Yes.
Dr. Howe?
Yes.
Yes, motion passes. Board of Education reports. Dan Davenport, you are up.
Hello. There's a very lengthy packet that we submitted for our new emergency operations plan. There's a couple of legislative compliance requirements related to this. One, the EOP is looked at biennially, which I think means every 2 years. And they also have new legislation that all school districts by the start of this school year need to adopt new terminology. And it's universal terminology called the Standard Response Protocol developed by the I Love You Guys Foundation. And the way the legislation was written, Michigan State Police was given the job of determining the terminology and making recommendations. So what's in your packet reflects that, the new terminology, but we also adopted the new template that the state provided. And the new template, it's a lot of the same information, the same maps, the same procedures, but it reflects the ability for individual buildings to take their own path as needed. But the terminology stays the same and is simplified so that in every emergency it's very clear what you're supposed to do. And there's no confusion between different schools and law enforcement. Everyone's using the same words for the same types of incidents. So I put a suggested motion in there. And I also, on that first page, there's our next steps. I talked with Tom Helms, our emergency operations manager, and some of the parts of this new template, you do a hazard analysis, but they want us to have the plan and then work with us on different aspects. And then there's a lot of training, and our focus this next year will be on reunification planning, which is probably the biggest responsibility for schools. But pretty much universally, everyone feels like they're not ready for that situation, whatever it might be, where you gotta get parents kids back to their parents, no matter what the situation is. So we've read a bunch on that. We're gonna work with the county, because everyone's working on it, and that's kind of the next big piece of work for us as we try and improve our safety planning. Are there any questions about the enormous document?
I noticed, Dan, that there are some names in here that are retired or left at the end of the school year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think Mr. Powell's in there.
Oh, yeah, yep.
So,
Because when we wrote it, he was still here, so, yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, that stuff will be continually updated.
okay.
And most of the things that get updated, like a student roster, it's twice a year minimum, we'll be updating things. And some of the plans, we just refer to the document, because the expectation is, the secretaries already have these like go bags, where we'll actually print stuff out or have it on a USB drive, so if you don't have good computer access, you can still do what you need to do and have all the right contact information. But yeah, all of those kind of informational things we'll be updating regularly. Yep.
And then do we have an AED at each elementary?
Yes.
Okay.
I cannot tell you the location on top of my head. They are on the
No,
map.
that's
But, yeah.
And we have people there that are trained to use them at each one?
Yeah, and the emergency response teams too, I would say this campus, our plan is probably tighter than the plan we have for the elementaries. That's on our list of stuff that we're working on as well.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, up next, Member Foster.
I had it open down there.
You did.
Just so I can browse.
Okay, well, I'm gonna start, so that way I'm curious of your guys'
You can
time.
sign in anyway.
You have a big front. So every year I try and come and give you guys a little bit of update of what PBIS is, as a reminder, and kind of where we are as a district in terms of implementing PBIS. So PBIS stands for Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports, and it was actually founded around 1980. And even before that, it was known as micro-Cs, which some old educators might be like, oh yeah, I remember micro-Cs. Yeah. But it kind of shape-shifted into what's now known as PBIS. The big picture of things is it's a framework and an approach. It's not something that you follow or stuff like that. It's kind of a mindset shift. And the idea is that we're improving the culture and making it a place where everybody wants to come. Okay, staff, community, parents, everybody. So that being said, kind of the framework and how we get there, why people choose PBIS are these main focus areas. So one, it is evidence-based. Like I said, it's been around for quite a while. They've done a lot of research on it. And PBIS is like a worldwide thing that is to improve all of this information. So it improves the culture. Attendance usually goes up. So I'm going to show our data in a little bit, and you'll see kind of where our numbers were. And since we've implemented PBIS, where we are now. And then the big thing why a lot of people like it is it usually reduces behavioral challenges to some extent, at least following our MTS pattern. So in order to understand PBIS, we do need to understand MTSS. So again, this is pretty familiar with most educators, but it follows a triangulated formula where 80% of students are going to be okay with just interventions that you put in place for everybody. Specifically, Tier 1 interventions, as I'll kind of get onto, are teaching those expectations, reinforcing the behavior you want to see, and listening to feedback, collecting data, and then making decisions based on that data. In terms of our second tiers, that's where you have to have a little bit more structure put in place, where you're saying, okay, these students aren't responding to us just teaching expectations. What can we put in place that will help them be successful? And again, that's the mindset shift, not the student needs to change. What can we change to help the student be successful on this side? And if you guys have questions, just stop me, because Okay, so tier one, these are the core things that PBIs looks like for our 80% of students. Really, all of them get it, so even the 15 and the 5%. But core expectations, so if you know Ovid-Elsie, you know be respectful, be responsible, be your best. Those are our core expectations. Once per month, we teach those expectations in a more of a formal way. This year we tried something different where I gave specific activities to teachers and said, hey, this is the lesson we're doing. A lot of teachers appreciated that just because it was done for them and it was easy and hopefully engaging and fun. The third thing is reinforcing positive behavior. So all of our schools, which I'll show you in a second, have some kind of reinforcement system in place. And I see some teachers here, but the reinforcement isn't really just for the students. It's actually a lot for our staff to remember to look for the positive that's going on in the classrooms, because we do know that the negative stands out. And then lastly, okay, PBIs gets this rap of it's always positive and stuff. There's also structure in place. You have to have flow charts and things, consistency with handbooks and whatnot that allow you to know what to do when behavior does happen. So this provides consistency among students and among our district. All of them have flow charts saying this is office managed behavior and this is classroom managed behavior, and then it gives steps on what to do based on activities. So some of the fun things about PBIS, this is our reward systems. We do recognize staff. We have stuff even on our buses to recognize students' behavior on the buses. They get tickets and then they can turn them into where they go to. The high school does a raffle along with the middle school. The high school gave out around 800 tickets this year. The middle school had around 1,700 tickets. So a little bit more, maybe I'll put a little competition in there to give out more. And then in addition, a lot of those raffles, I every year get student feedback on what they want. That's part of making something successful. A lot of times they want gift cards. I know Melissa's here, they like food. But we also try to do tangible items like fidgets and things like that. So this big change this year this was our first year really implementing tier 2 all the way across. Now our elementary buildings had quite a few things in place, but they kind of just tried new things. This was the year for trying new things. And our high school officially had like a tier 2 and 3 team that met monthly, and we were able to identify students that needed extra support and then put interventions in place. So it will still need modifications, but it was successful that we at least have all of these components in place. Okay, so PBIS is all about data. Like, if you know me, people know I will talk about data. And that's how you make our decisions. We have to see what the data is telling us, and then based on that, we will make choices. All of our schools have a tier 1 team, and we look at this data throughout the entire year. But after every meeting, I can tell you that we have an intervention in place for behavior, and we have an intervention in place for attendance. Just something that we do, and I'll tell you a little bit more about what those are. But these are the data that we look at in terms of the MTSS and PBI specifically. So, some of the data this year. You will see, I kind of got cut off, but 22-23 is the first year, and the 23-24. I started working at Ovid-Elsie in the middle of 2022 when we started implementing PBIS in 23. So since then, our attendance has drastically reduced, and now it's starting to plateau, which will happen. What we're identifying now is that there's a lot more students who are chronically absent, which are the ones causing a lot of the cumulative attendance to increase. So that means our tier 2 and our tier 3 really needs to step up and start focusing more on the attendance as well as behavior. Now, when you're looking at attendance, though, there's another point that you have to look at, and that's actually average daily attendance. And surprisingly, even though we had more absences, our average daily attendance was better, and that's partly because of the number of students and things like that. So you can see this graph. What this graph shows me, though, is between December and February, we really need to focus on our attendance, because that's when we have a significant decrease. We went from basically 94 all the way down to like 92, 93, where we plateaued off. And a lot of times, we know that's when sicknesses happen and changes in weather and whatnot. In addition to that, though, I was really happy to see that within the first half of the year, we were pretty consistent of staying around 95%, which is your goal. You really want to be around 95% or higher as a district and as a school. One of our schools did do that, and that was around our middle school. It actually did really good with attendance this year. Okay, so now looking at suspension data. So again, from when I started tracking data to here, our suspensions have drastically reduced and kind of plateaued again. So we're sitting a little bit in the middle of around 794, but different days, so it's calculated, you have to do it based on middle school and high school, how they do theirs, and then also the elementary buildings. So I'm pretty happy with that, because again, you have to dig a little bit deeper into your data, so I'm gonna show you what we're following. So if you look at the MTSS format, we will see over here, I did a little bit more research today, and I wanted to look at the percent of students in the district with any behavior referral. So even if it's something really minor that we kind of, some of us would be like, kind of move on. Anything that was written up, we have around 60% of students who have 0 referrals, 1 referral about 20%, so to me that's about 80%, because they learned, if they had 1 referral, it means they learned from their behavior, they didn't do anything. And it was potentially just a minor. Where I'm concerned is our area where it's around 23%, which would be our 15 to 5%, have more than 1 referral. So that repetitive behavior we need to start looking at. But if you come over here, again, it's all how you look at your data and perception. This is for major behaviors. So how many of our students have had major behaviors? 91% have not had any major behavior at all. Okay, but then we've had who've had 1 referral or more is the 4 and the 5%. So around 8 to 9% of students have had at least 1 major or more than that. So really we know there's a small chunk of population that's causing the most difficult behavioral challenges that are being addressed. So again, that is kind of like how you all look at it. Questions about this? Okay, some changes that we made this year that I thought it was really relevant to get into before we go to the next thing. One of the things that I put as a personal goal was getting more parent and community involvement, and some of you I got to see throughout the year, and I really appreciated that, and getting to know you guys. But we had parents and volunteers come out and give some of our PBIS rewards, come to the stores, things like that, so that way they can see the good that's going on. So ways to get the community back into our district. The implementation of Tier 2 and 3, like I had said, and then more prizes related to what students want. I worked really hard this year to go and ask for donations too, and kind of just give a shout out to about like the haunted house on 127. Maybe some of you guys have heard that, but they actually donated over 20 tickets, and I think that was the favorite thing of all the kids. So this year, moving forward, I'm going to start asking for more donations and things like that because kids like it. Oh, Zap Zone was another big one that gave us donations. So things that they want that are also activities and health conscious, as well as I have to also think about our custodians because sometimes I gave fidgets out and they broke and it wasn't good, but we learned. So moving forward, and then I am done talking with all this, but we're going to continue our PBI systems, and all of this is based on our strategic plan, and also our MyKid plan is also built into this. So keep collecting data, analyzing it, and making those decisions. Something new next year that we are starting is the Marauder Community and Culture, and what that is we're putting character building into our classrooms. So the skills that we're noticing students are missing, even down to the basics of like how to introduce yourself and look someone in the eye when you're listening and following directions. That will be all incorporated into classrooms at least once per week where teachers are integrating. And then it goes a little bit further, at least in our elementary buildings, and we're trying to work it out also in our secondary, where they're going to have tailored individuals like myself, our student success coaches, that provide additional skills that are needed for the groups that are maybe lacking it more so than others. And then lastly, continuing the parent community engagement. Like I said, I'm going to be asking for more donations and more volunteers to come into our schools because it's really important for you guys to come and see that. And then lastly, attendance. So I'm going to leave you on this. If anybody has heard me present before, they know this. But you have to think about this as when you're driving, oftentimes what do you notice? Okay? Man, that person in front of me slammed on the brakes, they didn't use their blinker. Oh my gosh, they stole my parking spot. Okay, when we're thinking about that, they're speeding, they're whizzing by me. The drivers that we notice are the drivers that are not driving well. But if you think about it, in reality, when you're driving, the majority of drivers are what? Doing the right thing. We're just not noticing it. We don't take the time to say, man, I really appreciate you using your blinker. Right? So but if we did, maybe more people would, right? So this is that whole idea of PBIS, is there's a lot of good going around, not just in our district, but our community and everything like that. So kind of shift your mindset and think about what are the things around us that are going, and not just focusing on it. And then lastly, I always have to shout out to my teams because this would not work if these people weren't involved. So they deserve a little from me, and I appreciate them very much. Other than that, any questions from you guys. I appreciate taking the time, a little bit longer than I was hoping. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for the extra power today.
Hey, Katie.
So up here, I have the 2025 final revision and then the original budget for 26-27. There are a few factors that I would like to provide context on regarding the current budget position. This year, we are ending the year with a deficit rather than contributing to the fund balance that we originally projected due to increased expenditures and revenue adjustments. Major expense factors included moving the laptop purchase into this current fiscal year. We had increases in utility supplies, services, unexpected heating repairs, and some higher transportation costs. Since the January revision, costs continued to increase beyond what I anticipated. On the revenue side, there were 3 line items that did not come in as anticipated, which also contributed to the final proposed budget. For 26-27, the current budget is showing a projected deficit. We built this budget conservatively, and it does not include potential categorical funding that is still being discussed at the state level. I anticipate this final state budget may improve our revenue position. We also have potential staffing changes that could create savings, but were not included because they are not finalized. So do you have any questions on?
All right, D, Finance Committee report. Did you want to share?
Oh, I did write something up. Our Finance Committee met June 10th with Mr. Josh Miller, Mrs. Caitlin Kushner, Super Mark Horak, and myself was present. I have thought extensively on the agenda item that we're going to be presented here in a few minutes. Our current final budget has a shortfall of $478,000. We will be forced to withdraw those funds from our fund equity balance for the 25-26 final budget. This will leave our fund balance in a good health at 17, was that 17.58 or was it 19?
19.
This year, 21.72.
Okay, 21, excuse me, I knew that was wrong when I was reading it, 21.72%. As a shortfall isn't the outcome we projected, it's our reality. So we don't have time to correct any of that measure for our current budget right now. Projected budget. Regarding the proposed budget for the 26-27, Ovid-Elsie will again be faced with a budget shortfall of $515,280,000. I initially hesitated to support passing this budget because I wanted to fix it first. As much as I would like for this to happen, there's just not enough time to do so by the end of June. The state of Michigan mandates that school districts pass and implement a budget before issuing state payments. I fully support passing our proposed 26-27 budget, provided that the Finance Committee presents an amended budget to the Board of Education by the end of our first fiscal quarter. So that would be September 30th. I don't know if that's doable, if you guys think that's doable in your time.
As long as we actually have the state budget by then. Last year we did not.
And then also to do quarterly committee meeting updates, so we could report back to the board to make sure that we help keep a balanced budget. We need to identify a pathway to achieve a balanced budget with not maybes. And with hard work and resilience, I believe achieving this balance is very doable, possible.
Thank you. Policy committee report?
So we met last week, the policy committee. We reviewed the Neola policies that were presented last month, and then they'll be approved tonight, hopefully. And there wasn't really anything to report back on those policies. We discussed Troon policy service, but at this time, we recommend just staying with Neola. That's more cost effective, and they're already with us. And I guess they're gonna be updating their system within the next month, so maybe it'll make it a little more user-friendly. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. We reviewed some of the student handbooks. Those traditionally had been items that they asked for board approval, but that's not the case. It's not needed for board approval, so we just kind of reviewed the changes at that meeting. And then we also discussed the written correspondence during board meetings, and that'll just be, is like it says, written correspondence. It'll be dispersed just like the one we had today to all the members. So, yeah.
Thank you. All right, superintendent report.
Thank you. First item, we do have, I want to acknowledge one more teacher who completed their probationary period. That's Emma Harrington, high school teacher. Just wanted to mention that for the record. We do have a school of choice media campaign. I don't know if you listened to Z925 The Castle, but that commercial's been playing on there. And I want to give a huge thank you to Jenny Favis, a parent who gave a testimonial during that. Those of you that were here when we had our strategic planning work session, she gave a great testimonial then, so I asked her if she would be willing to help with the commercial, and she did a fabulous job. I also need to thank Dan, Sam, and Crystal for the work that they put into updating the website and the school of choice portion of that. If you haven't seen that yet, it's very user-friendly, makes it very easy to schedule a tour or to actually fill out a form to enroll in the district. The next item up is something that's already been talked about in public comment a little bit, but Sue McMaster had contacted Brooke and myself and wanted to talk about honoring Doug Long. So at this time, I'd like to allow her the opportunity to speak.
Now?
Now or never.
Okay, and after I speak, your parents can speak.
You want to stand up so people can see behind you?
I
This is your
trying to
natural.
avoid the camera. Okay, can I just stand here, or? Or should I be over here? Okay, I'm Sue McMaster. I'm a retired teacher. I taught at North Elementary and Ignite for 26 years, not together, 20 and then 6. And I started teaching with Doug, along with 11 other people. And Doug was my children's second graders physical education teacher for 41 years. Well, not for my kids, for 26 years. Anyway, I added up how many kids I thought I had each year, which was around 25, although 1 year was 33, and then 1 year was 19, so I just thought, okay, 25. And it came to like 500 kids. I was just like shocked. Anyway, Doug was a OE community, I'm here to talk about Doug Long. He was a community member his entire life. He lived in Elsie when he was a student and child. Then he went to CMU, graduated, and eventually bought a house next door to Leonard Elementary in Ovid. So he lived in this community all those years. He was a student on the track team when he was in high school, and he had a record
up until last year when Brian Powell's son, Clay Powell, beat his record, and he was thrilled. Because he called me to tell me, and I said, well, how do you feel about that? I'm thrilled. I'm so excited for him. So that's what kind of a coach he was. He was a committee member on the Greater Lansing Honor Roll Meet of the Champions held at Waverly High School every year. The State Journal meet honored him this year after his passing at their meet. They gave the family a plaque, and I want to read it because it's Doug. It said, presented to Douglas Long, in recognition of your profound impact on generations of young people through your dedication as an educator, coach, mentor, and friend. Your tireless support of the sport at track and field, your commitment to student athletes, and your many years of service to the Honor Roll Committee will always be remembered with deep gratitude and respect. Your legacy will continue to inspire all who had the privilege to know and work with you. And then the date. He had another honor this year from the New Lothrop School. They had a meet called the Krupp Long Meet after losing their coach, Timothy Krupp, and Ovid-Elsie losing their coach, Doug Long. Byron, Duran, New Lothrop, Chesaning, Lakeville, Mount Rose, Mount Morris, Ovid-Elsie, and Birch Run were there. The Duran coach opened the meet with a dedication to both coaches, Coach Krupp and our Coach Long. So I was thinking, after cutting out these newspaper clippings and getting them to Sally, and how can the Ovid-Elsie community honor our Coach Long, who gave his time, commitment, and friendship to our students, teaching them life skills for 42 years, both in the classroom and on the track. Doug became a mentor to many students at OE in their future lives and careers. I would say he touched hundreds, maybe thousands of students in his OE career with kindness and devotion. Doug made a commitment to pay for the repaving of the old track. That was before the turf was put down and the new track. Okay, and he did that through fundraising, and probably lots of us bought things from Doug, like OE clothing and potted plants and flats. I know I bought plenty. And he did that for years until his debt was cleared. I don't know who he made that deal with, Mr. Pearl maybe? I don't know. He also provided, and I'm sure out of his own pocket, Doug also provided many trips to Sam's Club to buy healthy snacks and drinks to take to the track meets. I know, because I was on a lot of those trips. Lastly, Doug did not coach last year. However, he continued to mentor his track kids by calling them on the phone and talking to them on the track group chats. He was devoted to the OE track team. We should honor his lifetime to Ovid-Elsie School District and track a field of commitment by naming the track, whatever, the Douglas G. Long Track and Field Complex, or whatever everybody decides. So thank you for considering this proposal. And now Mary Perrin has a few things she'd like to say. Thank you.
Thank you. These are hard. Mary Perrin, 1985 graduate of Ovid-Elsie High School. And I want to start out, Board Policy 7250, commemoration of school facilities. Has everybody read that? Mm-hmm. All right. For those of you that don't know, from time to time, the Board of Education may wish to commemorate a school district facility, gymnasium, swimming pool, athletic field, by means of a plaque, naming the facility after a person or some other honor. Such commemoration should be reserved only for those individuals who have made a significant contribution to the enhancement of education,
or district particular to the well-being of district, community, state, or nation. It further states any employee of the district thus honored must be deceased or no longer employed by the district. And if you're the first, I'm hoping you're not employed by the district. That was adopted January 15th of 2001. So what we're proposing, as Sue stated, is the, I kind of like informal Doug Long, but it was suggested, Douglas G. Long Track and Field Complex at Mark O'Donnell Stadium. Nothing happens to Mark O'Donnell Stadium, it'll always be Mark O'Donnell Stadium. The formality, in our eyes, will only come into play during track season. I think it would be a fitting way to honor a man who gave his life to Ovid-Elsie. First off, I was blessed to call Doug my friend. Everybody knows that. Even more blessed to have him call me a friend. What we're trying to do is turn what I think is a really negative situation, not just his death, but to be honest, in the way in which his coaching career ended, into something very positive. Doug was, let's just say, Ovid-Elsie, I'll skip that, but Ovid-Elsie started their first class in 1967. He coached track starting in 1982, and if you count the 4 years he ran track, he spent 46 plus years on that track at Ovid-Elsie. That's 80% of the 59-year history of Ovid-Elsie schools. It's not just the years, it's what he has done in those years. First and foremost, like the same story we hear from everyone, he has molded men and women to positive members of society. He's led with integrity, sticking to his guns to show that rules matter and actions have consequences. He knew that the next level for most of his kids was just life, being a good mom, being a good dad, a good worker, a good neighbor, a decent human being, and kindness mattered. He bled Marauder blue and gold, not to be confused with maize and blue. Not at all. He spent Friday night home games selling OE gear. He represented Ovid-Elsie in such a positive light for 40 plus years. He was respected by his coaching peers, as stated from Sue. I could go on stating why this is a great idea. You've heard from people tonight, and I know you have business to tend to. So I just see it as a board's decision, and the board already has a policy stating so. And I would like to say, I'm aware of what happened when we tried to name the gym after Bob Forbeck. I can't leave that out of this story because it's history and it happened. Now, I opposed it, but with all due respect to Bob Forbeck. My suggestion was to name it the Mary Hudasek, Bob Forbeck, and Jim Madlow Gym, and that didn't fly either. But in that case, I didn't think there was a clear standout in a group of amazing coaches. If you named it one, you should name it for all three. I don't see that in this situation, and if I'm wrong, someone can correct that, but I just feel like all of the years that he spent, 80% of Ovid-Elsie's history, that kind of speaks for itself. The other thing I want to add is I don't see it as something that's going to cost the school money. Honoring, naming would just be the board's decision. If there's any cost to it, pass that on to us because I understand. I don't think it should be a taxpayer dollars, and especially with what you were talking about tonight. I think that would be, if there's any commemoration, I believe that, give us a bill and we'll take care of it. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just to clarify, during the action items, the board will be asked to start the process of allowing administration to look at whether we can do this. And you spoke to several of the points that we'd be looking at, so thank you. I would like to acknowledge some of the new teaching staff hires. We have Morgan Morris, who will be teaching second grade at Leonard Elementary. This will be her first year. She did her student teaching at Leonard. Stephanie Lemus will be joining us with high school math. She's also certified in science. Last year she did a long-term subbing position at the high school, so we had a little preview of what she can do, and everyone's very happy with that. And we have a Spanish teacher, Dr. Robert Best. He comes to us with several years of experience teaching Spanish 1 at the college level. So we'd like to welcome them to our teaching staff.
I'm just assuming.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
welcome.
Did you want to say anything to everybody here?
On to old business, Neola policies. If someone would be so long-winded as to make a motion, listing them all.
I move the Board of Education approves Neola policy updates of the following policies: 0100 definitions, 1410 staff ethics, 2370.01 online blended learning program, 2417 comprehensive school health education, 2418 sex education, 3120.09 volunteers, 4120.09 volunteers, 4210 staff ethics, 5136 wireless communications devices, 6320 purchasing, 6325 procurement federal grants funds, 7540.09 artificial intelligence, 8120.09 volunteers, 8402 emergency operations plan, 8655 specialized transportation for students with IEPs, 6321 new school construction renovation, 6510 payroll authorization, 6520 payroll deductions, 67455 accounting system for capital assets, and 7544 use of social media.
Support.
Hang on, I'd love to reread our motions, but we'll go with motion by Mrs. Greer, support by Mrs. Thompson, to approve the named policy updates. Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you to our policy committee for reviewing those. On to new business, letter A.
This is the final revised general fund operating budget that was mentioned before for 25-26. So I recommend we approve this.
I move the Board of Education approves the Ovid-Elsie area schools final revised general operating budget for the 2025-2026 year.
Support.
Motion by Mrs. Williams, support by Mr. Nash, that the Board of Education approves the Ovid-Elsie area schools final revised general operating budget for 2025-2026. Any discussion? Okay, you go back to the front, write your name. Mrs. Thompson?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Mrs. Greer?
Yes.
Mr. Nash?
Yes.
Dr. Hoff?
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes. Letter B?
This is the proposed general fund operating budget for 26-27. This is the one that Katie talked about. Nobody likes to see a deficit budget, but it is our responsibility to adopt the most accurate and realistic budget possible. I do want to mention a few things about it. The budget was built conservatively. We were very cautious with assumptions for enrollment and revenue, especially with the state budget being unknown. The budget does not assume any future 31 AA funding. However, if the state provides similar funding opportunities and the district chooses to participate, that could positively impact our financial outlook. Despite the projected deficit, OE remains financially stable. I do want to mention that administration has already begun implementing cost-saving measures, including staffing adjustments and careful review of expenditures. We'll have additional opportunities for savings and revenue adjustments, and we'll continue to evaluate that throughout the year. Approving the budget tonight does not mean we accept a deficit as the long-term solution. We are actively exploring long-term efficiencies and structural improvements for our district as part of our strategic plan. Approving the budget allows us to continue operating while we work together to make thoughtful adjustments that protect educational opportunities for our kids. And state law requires districts to adopt a budget before July 1, even if the state doesn't give us a budget, in order to continue normal financial operations, including payroll and vendor payments. So I recommend we approve the proposed general fund operating budget.
I make a motion the Board of Education approves the Ovid-Elsie Area Schools final proposed general operating budget for 2026-2027.
Support.
All right, motion by myself, support by Mr. Nash, to approve the Ovid-Elsie Area Schools final proposed general operating budget for 2026-2027. Any discussion?
I just have like, so I have like the data that we were given, and when you look at across Michigan, this is happening to a lot of schools where the ESSER funds and COVID money has ran out, and I think it's just worth being transparent about that, that those schools are having to condense their staff down. If you look at across the years, the information that was given to us, from the 2018-2019 school year till this school year, we have 284 less students, but we have 27 more staff. And 284 students is close to $3 million. So I just think that that should be, you know, something noted that we're looking at.
And, well, I think decline in enrollment's happening everywhere, right? Like,
Yeah.
everyone said that. But also, you gotta figure, we don't just have students coming in with general education needs, like special ed and paraprofessionals and those instructional supports or behavioral supports or whatever they may be. That can be why we continue to have just as many staff. I do wanna share too that I reached out to other districts because many of them have their budget or their meeting this week. And many of our local neighbors were like 500 to 1 million in their deficit also, so we're all kind of sitting here in the same spot.
Right, it's just a point that most businesses, you know, there comes a point where you have to make adjustments that are uncomfortable.
Anyone else? Okay, Dr. Huff?
Yes.
Mr. Nash?
Yes.
Mrs. Greer?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson?
Yes.
Yes, motion passes. Letter C.
All right, this is the final revised food service fund operating budget for 25-26. These tend to have extra money in them, so these are easy to approve.
Can I get a motion?
I move the Board of Education approves the Ovid-Elsie Area Schools final revised food service budget for 25-26.
Support. Motion by Mr. Nash, support by Mrs. Greer, that the Board of Education approve the Ovid-Elsie Area Schools final revised food service budget for 2025-2026. Any discussion? Mrs. Thompson?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Mrs. Greer?
Yes.
Mr. Nash?
Yes.
Dr. Huff?
Yes.
Yes, motion passes. Letter D.
This is the proposed food service budget for 26-27.
Entertain a motion?
I move the Board of Education approves the Ovid-Elsie Area Schools final proposed food service budget for 26-27.
Support. Motion by Mr. Nash, support by Mrs. Greer, that the Board of Education approves the Ovid-Elsie Area Schools final proposed food service budget for 2026-2027. Any discussion?
I have a question. In the last 2 years, we've been on a spend down. Is that also this year, are we doing a spend down? And
Was it the kitchen?
Yeah,
For the
they're
kitchen.
they're making major upgrades in the kitchen this summer.
was that last year's budget, though?
That's the current year.
You'll see it in 26, 27, just because of having to wait for school to come out and equipment drop off. We have been in contact with the state, and they know that it got pushed to 26, 27 strictly on equipment delivery time. So that's, if you see at the bottom, it went down to 3% fund balance for 26, 27, and that's in aligned with what food service is supposed to be.
Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Thompson?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Mrs. Greer?
Yes.
Mr. Nash?
Yes.
Dr. Huff?
Yes.
Yes, motion passes. Letter E.
Okay, this is the Ovid-Elsie budget projection appropriations. It's a yearly approval, and I'd ask for this to be approved as well.
I make a motion the Board of Education approves the Ovid-Elsie Area Schools budget projection appropriations for debt service, capital projects, trust and agency, and students' activity funds as presented.
Or,
Who's that?
Mary.
Any discussion? Okay. Dr. Huff?
Yes.
Mr. Nash?
Yes.
Mrs. Greer?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson?
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes. Letter F.
This is the tax levy, L4029. This authorizes the district to levy property taxes. These are already approved by the voters, so it's important to do this.
Entertain a motion?
I move the Board of Education approve the Ovid-Elsie Area Schools tax levy L 4029 as presented.
Support.
Motion by Mrs. Thompson, support by Mrs. Williams, that the Board of Education approve the Ovid-Elsie Area Schools tax levy L 4029 as presented. Any discussion? Dr. Huff?
Yes.
Mr. Nash?
Yes.
Mrs. Greer?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson?
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes. G?
This is the emergency operations plan that Dan talked about, and just so you know, the new terminology will be communicated out both to families and the community, so people can be aware of what that terminology is right before school starts. I recommend passing this as well.
I make a motion the Board of Education of Ovid-Elsie Area Schools approve and adopt the Standard Response Protocol, SRP terminology, and the newly revised District Emergency Operations Plan effective at the commencement of the 2026-2027 school year, and further authorize the superintendent to implement necessary staff training and community communication to ensure full alignment across all district facilities.
Support.
I already read that once, so motion by me, support by Mr. Nash to approve the emergency operations plan. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Letter H, we have employee contracts.
Okay, this is one where we did have the change in the wording. We changed the title to MTSS and Student Support Coordinator. This more accurately reflects the duties, the responsibilities of the position that's being recommended and aligns with the title with the district's student support and MTSS priorities. And we're recommending Mr. Nathan Sweet. He has 22 years of experience, which gives him a solid leadership background. He understands the importance of building positive relationships with students, staff, and families. Throughout the interview process, he demonstrated a student-centered approach to his decision-making. Nathan and his family have strong ties to this community and have expressed a desire to make a long-term commitment to OE. His leadership will provide valuable support throughout the district and help provide stability as we plan for the future. And after 3 rounds of interviews and considerable input from multiple stakeholders, we strongly believe Nathan is the right person to serve our students, support our staff, and help move Ovid-Elsie forward. And I strongly recommend that we hire him.
I make a motion the Board of Education extend a contract to Nathan Sweet as MTSS and Student Support Coordinator effective July 1, 2026.
Support.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, Mrs. Thompson?
I'm a no.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Mrs. Greer?
Yes.
Mr. Nash?
Yes.
Dr. Huff?
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes.
Nathan, did you want to say anything?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Excited to be aboard.
Thank you. Yep, the next one we're down to, this is for Amber Foster's contract, who gave a nice presentation tonight. Does an excellent job helping keep things moving with our MTSS program. So I recommend we approve this.
I move the Board of Education extend a contract to Amber Foster as District Mental Health and Wellness Coach effective July 1st, 2026.
Support.
Motion by Mrs. Williams, support by Mrs. Greer to extend a contract to Amber Foster as District Mental Health and Wellness Coach effective July 1, 2026. Any discussion? Okay, Dr. Huff?
Yes.
Mr. Nash?
Yes.
Mrs. Greer?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson?
Yes.
Yes, motion passes.
Next one is the contract for our middle school success coach, Claire Holly. Claire does an excellent job for us and helps keep things in line at the middle school, so I'm recommending this approval.
I move the Board of Education extend a contract to Claire Holly as middle school student success coach effective July 1st, 2026.
Support.
Motion by Mrs. Williams, support by Mrs. Thompson, to extend a contract to Claire Holly as middle school student success coach effective July 1, 2026. Any discussion? Mrs. Thompson?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Mrs. Greer?
Yes.
Mr. Nash?
Yes.
Dr. Hub?
Yes.
Yes, motion passes.
And the last contract is for Connie Caskey, as a part-time paraprofessional in our alternative high school. Does a great job with those kids, and I recommend approving this.
I move the Board of Education extend a contract to Connie Caskey as part-time, 5 hours per day, paraprofessional at the alternative high school at step 15 with longevity, effective August 17, 2026.
Support.
Okay, motion by Mrs. Greer, support by Mr. Nash, to extend a contract to Connie Kiaski as a part-time, 5 hours per day paraprofessional at the alternative high school at step 15 with longevity, effective August 17, 2026. Any discussion? Dr. Huff?
Yes.
Mr. Nash?
Yes.
Mrs. Greer?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson?
Yes.
Yes, motion passes.
And I think Connie, I saw her here. Did you want to say anything, Connie?
No, but thank you very much for keeping me on.
Okay, letter I, this is what our presentation was on before. I make a motion the Board of Education approves the administration to research applicable board policies and develop a recommendation for moving forward in the naming of the Ovid-Elsie High School track in honor of Doug Long, with a report to be presented at a future board meeting.
Support.
Motion by myself, support by Mr. Nash, to approve the administration to research applicable board policies and develop a recommendation for moving forward in the naming of the Ovid-Elsie High School track in honor of Doug Long, with a report to be presented at a future board meeting. Any discussion?
With the, what are they going to research? Are just our policies?
The policy is where, if we would do it, where a sign might be placed, what it might be named, all those different things.
Okay, thank you.
And like, according to our policy, just a question about, just forward thinking. How are we gonna decide what significant contribution means? I just don't want everybody showing up with a presentation of why they think, somebody else might. You know what I mean? Like, there should be some sort of criteria, maybe?
That's what the board will have to decide.
Okay.
Well, quite honestly, I mean, this seemed like, when we were contacted about someone wanting to come speak, it just felt like we were so disappointed in the way the process went earlier this year, filling the position. And then this was such a positive thing to honor someone who'd done so much good that,
Oh, I agree.
and I mean, and obviously the presentation showed all of the things that he did. I'm not from here, I didn't know all of those things, but to me, without, like, it's just hands down his decision.
Oh, I'm not, my personal feelings aside, I'm just saying, like, make sure we do it right, so, there might be other people that feel the same way about somebody, just to do it correctly, so it's done correctly.
Any other discussion? Is this right? This is monetary. Okay, so, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Letter J, we have the superintendent mid-year evaluation. This is required, and it is in my binder if you saw it. I just started it. It does not have to be the end. You can see listed, where is it? I'm sorry. Oh, here it is, I'm sorry. Okay, so I took the tool off of MASB, and there's the mid-year evaluation. We've never done it before because One, it didn't become a requirement until after 2024 when we all had to get retrained. But also, we have not had a superintendent for an entire year to be able to do this with. So what I did is, there were the 3 goals that we set, his staff relations and organizational climate. And this is where you can add, or we can take anything off. I just kind of got us started. When I looked at things that he had for us, the progress, I put Superintendent Horak attends building staff meetings and district-wide shared leadership meetings. When the perception survey was done, he shared a debrief of the data in his weekly update. Superintendent Horak, at a minimum, makes weekly visits to the buildings, greeting students and then interacting with staff. He has also scheduled, funded, and attended staff gathering opportunities. Does anyone have anything else that sticks out to you?
He goes to community events.
Can I type it? Are you writing that down? I can. Okay. Or if there's anything you guys want taken out of there, like those were obviously my words, but so far, anybody else in there? Okay. The next goal was facilities analysis and long-term capital planning. And I put Ovid-Elsie has taken steps under Superintendent Horak to participate in the statewide facilities and infrastructure initiative with hopes for future grant funding. The MDE facilities assessment in this process has been completed. We are just awaiting the report. Superintendent Horak requested that SETSEG conduct a hazard assessment to evaluate safety concerns. Kitchen upgrades are occurring this summer. The strategic plan is also focused on long-term planning and the analysis of our facilities. Anything you want to take out or add? Okay. Goal 3, facility use, security, and policy alignment. Under progress, I listed a review of past practices with Carla has started and is ongoing, gathering information on policies from surrounding districts that have been successful with a consistent approach. Superintendent Horak has met with other district officials to discuss their procedures. Superintendent Horak is taking into account the hazard assessments and community engagement aspect. The current past practices were requested by Superintendent Horak in January 2026. He has met with admin to review after-hours practices for consistency and clarity. And so some of those evidence, or where I got some of that from, that's what's listed on the next page, where it says artifacts of evidence or data. I went back through all of his weekly update emails. Obviously, we have 2026 adopted strategic plans and strategic plan and the goals, which leads to the facilities analysis. The SETSEG reports he sent to us. On our January 31st update, that had the past practices that were requested from Mr. Tokar so that he could start there. And that's obviously an ongoing one because we haven't come to an end result as he's working through it with other districts. So unless anyone has any objections where it says goal for the remainder of the year, I guess I was just thinking we continue with the same 3 goals. And then we're more specific in evaluating him at his actual.
I would like, I have on mine tightening the budget and scaling back in spending, just because that is a significant, and that's our fiduciary role.
So you want to add a goal?
Just maintain, and I think that we should do the committee quarterly instead of 3 times a year, just to give, it's just one extra meeting.
But I think that's up to us, like that's not what we're
Okay.
rating him on.
Well,
So
that
like-
would facilitate of seeing what he's doing to tightening the budget and to be proactive.
So it would be us facilitating it, right? Because well, not us, I don't
Well,
know.
the committee.
Yes.
I mean, he's the chair of the committee too.
He would go, but I don't know, in my mind, if we're only gonna be able to measure it because he's showing up and we're having him, we already know that, like, we wanna have that done, like, we're saying as a board or as your committee said, we want these policies, or, we want to meet however often. I don't feel like he can't tell us yes or no, we can say that's what we want to make sure we're doing it. So I don't know how we would measure that for him, besides him showing up.
Well, the data of him actually doing.
Well, then how would you want to write the goal? And then we just have to be able to tell him what artifacts and data we need, otherwise we can't add the
Well,
goal.
that would be the dollar sign and being projected in the black instead of the red.
So what if we don't get a budget though, and like what if the state doesn't approve anything until after December, or
Correct.
November?
Well, would we be getting funding though? Because it doesn't have to be done in October. The state budget has to be done by October-ish. And that's only happened 2 other times in the last 10, 15 years.
What about for next
you tell by the time October this year, maybe almost over too.
Yeah, I don't feel comfortable adding that right now, so many up in the air, but I absolutely think if that's what we want to be like his goals in November. I just don't feel like, I don't know that we're gonna get a budget. I don't know how we would measure it just for a few months.
Are we,
I move the Board of Education approves mid-year evaluation as presented.
Support? Okay, so the board, motion by Mr. Nash, support by myself to approve the mid-year evaluation as presented. Any other discussion?
So just to be clear, when you say we're gonna continue with the 3 goals, those are the goals that
They're listed above.
he wrote back at the beginning of,
Yes, so the 3 that are listed, the staff relations and organizational climate,
and then the measurables underneath those that are not finished.
that we actually evaluate. Like when we look at
Yeah.
his, he will get scored on.
And we'll do that in November.
Yes.
That's perfect.
No, he'll give us his self-assessment in November, we do it in December.
December.
Yes.
Thank you.
So Crystal, if under the goal for remaining of the year, you just put continue.
can I ask a question? Are you looking at like, policy changes to our current or existing policies possibly?
Possibly.
Okay.
We go through the
I was
policy
just
committee.
curious, yeah, right, I was just curious.
Any other discussion, anything else you want to add? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. And then the other one we added is, I'm sorry it was not with us earlier. On Friday, the Government Relations Committee at MASB met, and they were of course talking like every other district about how we don't have a budget, and it makes it very difficult for our staff, for our superintendents, for teachers, for, knowing what we're gonna be doing. And so they sent out a press release today, but they also created this resolution for boards to pass. And essentially it's saying that this isn't okay, we do not appreciate last year where we're expected to pass a budget and your actual job is to pass it by July 1, and you didn't, and that's illegal. So boards are all being sent this as an option to just vocalize that we aren't okay with that. Please make this a priority to pass this by July 1. So I can read that.
Real quick before you do that, I want to mention last Friday at our county superintendent's meeting, we're going to also have a strong push before July 1 to get the message out that they are breaking the law if they don't pass it by July 1. And this is an election year, and we would like to elect people in our state who follow the law. That's the message we're going to be trying to push out.
So the resolution reads, urging the governor and the legislature to pass the 2026-2027 school aid budget by July 1. Whereas with only 2 weeks remaining in this fiscal year for our schools, the legislature has not yet passed a school aid budget, and whereas last year the budget was not passed until after the constitutional October 1 deadline, the state's long delay last year forced districts to make critical staffing and programming decisions based on speculation rather than certainty. Without a budget, schools cannot responsibly plan for staffing, class sizes, transportation, or essential services. And whereas Ovid-Elsie area schools is legally obligated to complete our budget by the end of June, we will fulfill that obligation, but without certainty from Lansing on what funding we will see, we will be forced to once again consider freezing programs, delaying hires, and laying off staff. Families and staff deserve stability. State-created budget delays cause unnecessary stress and financial concerns. And whereas the framework for a responsible school aid fund budget already exists within the 3 proposals under consideration, there is no excuse to delay bringing these ideas together into a final agreement. And whereas we also urge focus to remain on passing a responsible, balanced budget, this is not the time to begin discussions on major reforms. Significant property tax changes or other structural changes that are being brought up deserve a thorough debate separate from the budget. And whereas policymakers must complete a responsible school aid budget that meets the needs of Michigan students. This includes an inflationary increase to the foundation allowance, implementing weighted funding for at-risk and ELL students, stopping the diversion of K-12 dollars away from the classroom, and fixing the school safety and mental health funding. Now therefore be it resolved that the Ovid-Elsie area schools calls on the legislature and the governor to pass the school aid budget before July 1, and be it resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the district's representatives in the Michigan House of Representatives and the Michigan Senate, as well as the governor's office. entertain a motion if we want to pass that resolution as a board. If not,
Is there a resolution number that goes along with it?
there's not. That was the format they gave us. Yeah, so we just left it.
I move the Ovid-Elsie Board of Education pass this resolution that you just read.
I'm not reading it again. Okay, so, motion by Mrs. Lamb, support by Mr. Nash to pass the resolution urging the governor and the legislature to pass the 2026-2027 school aid budget by July 1. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
It asks for a roll call vote.
Oh, thank you, okay. Yeah. Mrs. Townsend?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Mrs. Greer?
Yes.
Mr. Nash?
Yes.
Dr. Huff?
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes. Additional public participation, Mr. Jones.
I think it's important to clarify what happened at the end of the May board meeting as well as the June 3rd special meeting, because I believe there was confusion by many in the community. Governmental immunity. I sat on this board for 6 years and I've never heard the term before. 4 days after the May board meeting, I was contacted by the school's attorney, at which time he asked me if I was familiar with that term, governmental immunity. He then made the following statement. Board members can sit up there and make any crazy statement they wish, and they are protected by governmental immunity. 2 days prior to that call on 5/20, I had filed a formal complaint against board member Greer, asking the board to do the following. Conduct a formal review of Ms. Greer's statements made during the May 18th board meeting. Compel Ms. Greer to produce police reports, emails, etc. that supported the claims she made at said meeting. Correct any false or misleading public statements made during the meeting, and take appropriate action to prevent further harm to our family and to the integrity of the school. At the end of May 18th board meeting, Ms. Greer read a statement where she made numerous claims publicly in a manner that conveyed them as established facts. Her first one, the allegation that board members were tied to personal information sharing was fully investigated by Michigan State Police at Mr. Jones's request. Well, I have an email from the Michigan State Police confirming that I have never filed a police report against Ms. Greer or any other board member, meaning no investigation of any kind was ever conducted against any board member. So I'm also unclear how it is also possible that she made the following statement. I was formally notified on 10/31/25 that the matter involving any board member was closed. Finally, she stated, cell phones and emails were scrubbed as well as hospital security footage and computer logs. No evidence of wrongdoing by me or any other board member at this table was found. None. No wrongdoing was found. Well, I spoke with the Michigan State Police as well as Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Fowler from the Shiawassee County Prosecutor's Office, and he confirmed that no warrants were ever issued for cell phones, emails, hospital security footage, or computer logs. Now, Board President Woolley did conduct a formal investigation internally, and she presented her findings to the board in closed session on 6/3. She provided me with the following outcome letter on 6/5, which reads, in your complaint dated May 20th, 2026, you requested that the board conduct a formal review of Board Vice President Ms. Greer's statement made in open session at the May 18th, 2026 board meeting. Specifically, 3 statements that were made. As board president, I conducted a fact-finding investigation specific to these statements. In my investigation, I was unable to confirm that the statements made were true. However, even after being presented with Ms. Woolley's findings in that closed session on 6/3, 4 board members inexplicably, yet predictably, ignored Ms. Woolley's findings and voted against holding Ms. Greer accountable for her actions. When board decisions are no longer based on the truth or investigation findings, and board member conduct is defended and explained away by terms such as governmental immunity, our entire community and district should be very concerned and be on alert. Thank you.
Other matters which may properly come before the board? Hearing from board members?
Yeah, I'd like to say something about Mr. I didn't know him well, I didn't go to Ovid-Elsie school, but I can tell you, riding my bike around here and being around, the guy was always here. And, you know, I see him in the press box, I see him getting coolers out, filling up all the ice for the people to go, for their track meets and that. And I think a perfect place to put a sign, I was telling Dave Long, on the way in here, if it passes, is right where you come in that ticket, you go up to the Ovid-Elsie side, but when you go down to the other side, there's a green area. And I bet that they could get their son to make a sign out of wood and do whatever you said they do, carve it in. I don't know enough about that stuff. But I'm very happy that we voted for it as a board. I thank everybody here, so.
I think it's a really positive thing. I think of like when you talk about the impacts that they had back when all of us were impacted by COVID and I had a kindergartner and a first grader. One day my kindergartner just starts crying and we're like, what's the problem? First reaction that we've had, I miss Mr. Long. I mean, thank you. But that's a memory that stuck with our family. I also, after reflecting on our last meeting, and we are moving forward, but it was hard to hear and be contacted by community members feeling that we as a board made a resolution to distance ourselves from statements made, but then there was no accountability there as a whole board. So that is a message that has been shared with me as someone on the board. Anyone else? Okay, I'd entertain a motion for adjournment. Unless you guys want to stay here.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.